To our panelists, when you hear the term Asian, what picture does it bring to your head when a person from America versus a person who is not necessarily from America, maybe an immigrant, says it?
So in my experience, typically if it's someone American or someone who grew up here, they would typically mean someone who didn't necessarily look like me. They would typically mean someone who is East Asian. And I remember this one incident where a friend of mine mentioned that when I told something about me being Asian, like, oh, but you're not Asian. I grew up in Asia. I would know. I grew up in that continent. Like, what are you trying to tell me? So, yeah, so, anyway, I had a lot of sarcastic comments sort of like bundled up in the back of my head that I had to suppress. But regardless, one of the most interesting things I think about this is the fact that I think it's really sad that there's so much diversity in the fact that one is Asian, and the fact that Asia is such a large continent, and we're being sort of pushed under this stereotype and umbrella of looking a certain way under an assumed stereotype. And I think that's really interesting and also really sad, because have you seen Asia? Have you seen what all Asians look like? They look so different, and that should definitely be celebrated. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I'm gonna let the others take over.
Oh yeah, so from my experience, again, I was from Pennsylvania. So my town was predominantly white. So when the word Asian pops into mind, it really brings me back to like growing up as a kid, whereas Asian for people in my town was just Chinese and Japanese. There was no knowledge of Filipino, Thai, Vietnamese, anything else. It was either, oh, you're Asian, like they had no knowledge of the fact. So when coming here too, I had a better sense of identity, a better sense of my own Asian American culture, being part of my organization, but also there is just like a little bit of disconnect too, I feel, because being Filipino, a lot of the things that we also get is, oh, are you really Asian? I thought you were Pacific Islander. Or, oh, like, aren't you guys like more Spanish Asian? Like, you guys aren't really Asian. And it's kind of upsetting that we're always just misdefined and always put under this aspect that we're not part of the Asian American culture, which we really are.
Okay, so in my experience, like, when I went to America for the first time, I don't think people thought I was Asian to begin with. People always, 100% of the time, like, thought I was Spanish. Even people in my major who knew me for 3 years only found out I was Filipino this year. And they all thought I was Hispanic.
I thought you were Mexican.
You thought I was Mexican?
I thought you were Mexican.
So yeah, a lot of people think I'm Hispanic. So, but when I do clarify that I'm Asian, I'm from the Philippines, for some strange reason, they don't hear the part that I say that I'm from the Philippines and assume I'm from China. And like, the Philippines and China, though they have relations, and like there's a Chinese community present in the Philippines. Like, I don't think we look very different. Asians in general look very different. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I can't really relate to this question just because more often than not, people think I'm Hispanic than Asians.
So, I do agree that when people hear the word Asian, like East Asian is the idea that comes up like to mind. But even then, even under the umbrella of East Asian, there's so many different types of people. You can't just lump Chinese, Japanese, and like Korean together. And as somebody who actually speaks all three languages, it's a little iffy. I get very insulted when I hear that. There is a difference, and it should be proper for you to understand that there are differences and recognize that. When I hear the word Asian, honestly, it really brings up to mind somebody who's, I guess, subservient and quiet, and that's really not who Asian people are. And you know, this month we're celebrating Asian Pacific Heritage, and it's important that we speak about both sides. There's East Asian, there's South Asian, and there's also Pacific Islanders that we have to celebrate. And I think it's great that we're having this event. And
for me, obviously, a lot of my experience too, and my personal identity of being Asian has been shaped by the fact that I'm very much white passing. So people will talk to me with the assumption that I'm just white, and a lot of times people won't filter the same way they might for someone who looks stereotypically Asian. And so I think a lot of that, the fact that we base things like that on looks alone to a certain like East Asian stereotype can be very harmful in our discussion of it. So that's definitely something to consider moving forward, to looking to having a more nuanced discussion of what it means as a cultural identity, not based on how someone looks.
Okay, so just to give, am I speaking loud enough? Can you guys all hear me? Yeah? Alright, just trying to speak into the mic. Okay, so just a little background on me. I am American born. My background is from Taiwan. My parents both from Taiwan. And just this first question asks, like, how do I react when other people call me Asian? So, like I said earlier in the response to the video, this is more of like a secondary term to me. It doesn't really bother me because I actually I associate myself with being an American because I'm an American citizen. You know, I grew up here. This is my primary. English is my primary language. But being Asian is probably the first thing what people notice about you when they see you, just because of your face, just because of your skin tone, your characteristics, the way you come off, the people you hang out with, the food you eat, you know, and all that. But in the video, they did state about how Asians are more soft-spoken and they don't speak up for themselves, which I think it's actually, it's a stereotype, but it is true. You know, in the video, the guy said, just do your work, keep your head low, and your boss will give you a raise. But in America, it's different because, you know, whoever speaks up most, whoever gets to be like that buddies with the boss gets the raise. That's different, you know? So, one thing I want to address is, okay, so just like you guys can shout it out, but what are some of the stereotypes that you guys get as Asians out there? I know, like, we can't drive, and you know, the food we eat is stinky.
I've heard you can't drive. To be honest, you have to admit that you can't drive one. For some of the people in Flushing, is true. If you're Flushing, it has to be true.
That's a discussion that we can host next time. But yeah, what are some of the stereotypes that you guys get? You know, just shout it out.
Good at math.
You're good at math. You're smart. You guys have a good job. You guys can't drive. What else? What was that? Hardworking. We're hardworking. Good. So that is true. You know, Asians. Yeah, we always get the we are smart. We can't drive. You know, the basic stereotypes, but they're also like other stereotypes. Like I said earlier, we're soft-spoken. You know, we don't speak up for ourselves. You know. And honestly, when we get these stereotypes, we shouldn't take it personally because it's just the way that we don't bring up our Asian culture. Let me say how to say this. Asians don't bring up their culture as much as whites and blacks and Hispanics do because, for example, on the census, when we fill it out every 10 years, there's a slot that says Hispanic or non-Hispanic, right? That's even with all the jobs you apply to. But there's not a slot that says Asian or non-Asian, or even categorized under Asians what country you're from. You know, Chinese, Hispanic, Chinese, Korean, Filipinos, Japanese, and all that, right? But with these stereotypes in mind, we just have to bring awareness more to the general public about the Asian cultures, about how Asia is not just one country. There's actually like 60-something countries in Asia, and we are all different, and we all come from different backgrounds, religions, cultures, ethnicities, foods. And when people tell me, you know, sometimes people always tell me, hey, you're doing that, that's being really Asian. You're doing that is being too Asian. I'm like, I'm just trying to eat my lunch. I'm not really being too Asian.
Actually, I have something to add. So, in high school, I went to a very prestigious high school in the city, and it's very Asian predominant. And I realized that when I was applying to college, that Asians have to work a lot harder to prove their worth in a way because, you know, we're all categorized as hardworking and we're smart, and like for us personally, I feel like standards are higher. It's harder to, I guess, make a name out of yourself when you're Asian. When, you know, like it's just a general stereotype. Like, yes, I know, like, you know, you're Asian, you're hardworking, but how much more hardworking can you be to prove your worth? And when I was applying to college, it was really difficult because coming from an Asian predominant high school, a lot of people, we had to compete against each other, and I guess I don't know if this is really true, but sometimes it feels like there's only a certain amount of Asians college do accept when you're talking about, I guess, the Ivy Leagues. Like, there are articles saying that, like, oh, we don't want to accept too many Asians. We have like a lot of them already. So those who wants to apply, you have to work a lot harder to get to that position.
That's another point. Thank you, Shannon. There is actually the diversity quota that every college has to make, so they have to have a certain amount of people. And because when there are a lot of Asian Americans who typically are hardworking or not hardworking or however many, there's a lot of actual Asian Americans who are in America in general. They group them together in one lump sum, and when they try to apply to college, there is a quota that they have to meet, so they do make a cutoff point. Depending on if your work is better than another person from another ethnicity or whatever you just checked in that box, if you're Asian, regardless of what region of Asia you're from, they will mark you as filling their quota, even if your work is better from another person